Tell me a little bit about, you encounter hundreds of stories across a tremendous amount of people, both of you throughout the region. Highlight just a one or a couple of the most poignant positive ones that you've seen. You see a spectrum, but tell me a little bit of some of the light-sided ones that you've seen.
Mike, I think I've got all kinds of like good news stories.
You jump in first. We'll give you a second to think.
Well, you know, I like a good news story that has an edge to it. And that's why I've been following this guy called Clifton Boone of Gary, who committed a kidnapping crime 40 years ago. And he was put into Michigan City, Indiana State Prison in Michigan City, back in the 70s, I guess it would be, for this kidnapping crime. And through a technical loophole of sorts, a technicality in the legal system, he was imprisoned for life, as opposed to being able to be released after 20 or so years. Okay. So he was put in there much longer than he was supposed to be. And the superintendent of the prison petitioned on his behalf. Guards petitioned on his behalf. He doesn't belong here. He paid his due. Even though it's a legal technicality, he should be kicked loose. Please kick him loose. Everybody kept stepping up for him, and nobody would release him. Finally, he got to a judge's hearing just earlier this year, which I covered, Salvador's in Lake County. What's Vasquez? Sal Vasquez, right? His judge, his courtroom, and they finally determined, yes, you've served you served your time, you paid your debt to society, you should be released finally. And he was in prison for 39 years, so he's trying to make amends again. And I keep track of him. I met him last week again at another place doing landscaping work, and he's just mowing yards, and he's just he's happy as hell. He wants to prove himself. He knows he has to prove himself. And the prosecuting attorney, Bernie Carter, backed him. The judge finally backed him. Everybody finally backed him. Even the Lake County Sheriff currently, John Bunchett, says, I believe in you too, Clifton. Work in my jail, work in my kitchen, and have a job here.
Well, I did a story on an individual who, everybody knows immigration is a big deal in our country. It's always, it's a big debate. It's a big debate in politics, presidential politics. Well, but then when you talk about an undocumented immigrant, there's still people. There are situations here, and I look at it as a somewhat of a positive story. People may not out there, but I'm going to tell it anyway. Recently, I came across a woman who is undocumented, living in the area. She came to East Chicago, living in the Chicago area with their kid. She'd been here now for at least 10 years. She had a kid. She's still young, very young, and she started getting sick. She's trying to find a match for a kidney donation. So she's at this church in East Chicago, and it's predominantly Mexican American. So all these people go through this testing, and none of them are a match, So the pastor of the church decides, I'll go through the test and see what happens. The pastor's not Hispanic. He's Irish. And so, he goes through the testing, and she has some kind of blood type, some kind of things that's just kind of unique. And it comes back that he's a match. She found her match. She got her kidney transplant.
From him?
From the priest.
When did this happen?
This happened a few months ago, maybe about May-ish, around there. There's been some issues since the operation transpired. So, it's not just this nice donation. So he's having his own issues now, but the story of somebody giving a part of their body to somebody that they don't know, but I just find it amazing that somebody had to come from a different country to this little town, and what are the odds of that happening? Yeah. So I kind of look at that as somewhat as a positive story.
No doubt.